Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information, as you may or may not know, comes from the smart device application On This Day, the icon of which is shown as cutoff prevention at the beginning and end of each episode. The music in the background is Killercats by Kaibu, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds, aka NCS. For links to the Yap music and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Anyway, on with the show! Today is Friends Day, aka Friday, May 20th, 2016. In 2010, a social media event was celebrated in response to the Muslim extremists' reaction to images of Muhammad. In 2006, a series of massive strikes began, which involved nearly 1.8 million garment workers in Bangladesh. In 2002, the independence of East Timor was recognized by Portugal, formally ending 23 years of Indonesian rule and 3 years of provisional UN administration. And just an FYI, Portugal was itself the former colonizer of East Timor until 1976. In 1996, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in Romer v. Evans against a law that would have prevented any city, town, or county from taking legislative, executive, or judicial actions to protect the rights of homosexuals. In 1990, Romania's first post-communist presidential and parliamentary elections were held. In 1989, the Chinese authorities declared martial law in the face of pro-democracy demonstrations, which set the scene for the Tiananmen Square massacre. In 1985, Radio Marti, which was part of the Voice of the United States Service, began broadcasting to Cuba. In 1983, the discovery of the HIV virus that causes AIDS was first published in the journal Science by Luc Montagnier. In 1980, in a referendum in Quebec, 60% of the population voted in rejection of the proposal from its government to move towards independence from Canada. In 1967, the Popular Movement of the Revolution political party was established in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In 1964, Robert Woodrow Wilson and Armel Penzias discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation. In 1956, during Operation Red Wing, the first U.S. airborne hydrogen bomb was dropped over Bikini Atoll in the Pacific Ocean. And thus, Bikini Bottom and some of our favorite cartoon characters, SpongeBob SquarePants, Squidward Tentacles, and Patrick Star, was born, according to the theory. In 1948, Chiang Kai-shek was elected as the first president of the Republic of China. In 1940, during the Holocaust, the first prisoners arrived at a new concentration camp at Auschwitz. In 1932, Amelia Earhart took off from Newfoundland to begin the world's first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic Ocean by a female pilot, landing in Ireland the next day. Just 5 years prior, in 1927, at 7:52 in the morning, Charles Lindbergh took off from Roosevelt Field in Long Island, New York, on the world's first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic Ocean. He touched down at Le Bourget Field in Paris at 10:22 p.m. the next day. Also in 1927, the United Kingdom recognized the sovereignty of King Ibn Saud in the kingdoms of Hejaz and Najd, which later merged to become the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In 1920, Montreal radio station XWA broadcasted the first regularly scheduled radio program in North America. In 1916, the Saturday Evening Post published its first cover, which was an image of the Norman Rockwell painting Boy with a Baby Carriage. In 1902, Cuba gained independence from the United States with Thomas Estra Palma as the country's first president. In 1899, the first traffic ticket in the U.S. was given to New York City taxi driver Jacob German, who was also arrested for speeding while driving 12 miles per hour on Lexington Street. We got a badass over here. In 1806, the 6-ton chandelier of the Palais Garnier fell on the crowd below, resulting in 1 death and many injuries. In 1891, the first public display of Thomas Edison's prototype kinetoscope occurred. In 1882, the Triple Alliance between the German Empire, Austria-Hungary, and the Kingdom of Italy was formed. In 1875, the International System of Units was established when 17 countries signed the Meter Convention. In 1873, Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis received a U.S. patent for blue jeans with copper rivets. In 1862, the Homestead Act was signed into law by U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. In 1861, during the American Civil War, the state of Kentucky proclaimed neutrality, which would last until September 3rd when Confederate forces entered the state. Meanwhile, the state of North Carolina seceded from the Union. In 1802, by the law of 20 May 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte reinstated slavery in the French colonies, revoking its abolition in the French Revolution. In 1755, the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence, considered by some to be the first of such a document made within the 13 colonies, was signed in Charlotte, North Carolina. In 1645, during the Yangzhou Massacre, the 10-day massacre of 800,000 residents of the city of Yangzhou occurred, which was caused during the transition from Ming to Qing. In 1631, the city of Magdeburg, Germany, was seized by forces of the Holy Roman Empire, which then massacred most of its inhabitants, which became one of the bloodiest instances of the 30 Years' War. In 1609, Shakespeare's sonnets were first published in London, possibly illicitly, by publisher Thomas Thorpe. In 1570, cartographer Abraham Ortelius issued Theatrum Orbius Terrarium, which was the first modern atlas. In 1520, the massacre of the festival of Toxcatl took place during the fall of Tenochtitlan, resulting with the Aztecs to turn against the Spanish. In 1498, Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India when he arrived at Kozhikode, previously known as Calicut, India. And in 325, the First Council of Nicaea was formally opened, starting the First Ecumenical Council of the Christian Church. Births: Sherilyn Sher Sarkisian, 1946, Joe Cocker, 1944. Deaths: Christopher Columbus, 1506. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. Don't forget to rate 5 thumbs and subscribe for your dose of passive events daily. I am Xander, and you are you. Toodles!